Alcoholism, a condition that has seen to broken homes, loss of friendships and self-respect. Health-wise, if left untreated, alcoholism can lead to irreversible organ damage, chronic mental health issues, and even premature death. April, among other things, is Alcohol Awareness Month. There are many voices on the topic of drinking and how much is too much, but only we know the answer to that. Let's respect our bodies and our relationships enough to act on that limit. Hi there, and welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm your guide, Jabertha Atkinson, ready to take you on this informative excursion. More after the break. Here's an important reason you need to avoid or limit alcohol consumption. The World Health Organization, WHO, indicates that there is research evidence of a direct link between several cancers and alcohol consumption as a major contributing factor. It's being cited as a major contributing fact for cancer of the breast, colorectal, esophagus, liver, mouth, throat or pharynx, and voice box or larynx. There is no safe level of alcohol consumption, and the more you consume, the greater your risk. Protect your health. Limit your alcohol intake. Save your life. For help and more information, call the National Council on Drug Abuse, NCDA, at 876-564-HELP. That's 876-564-4357.
I remember we had a case where the client reported that a particular member of staff at a facility sent information to her community that she's at the facility accessing HIV care. The news got to her community while she was sitting in the waiting area, and when she attempted to deny it, the person who messaged her about it sent her a picture of her sitting on the bench in the waiting area to say, see it there? You can't tell me, say you're not up there. These breaches of confidentiality are barriers to people coming forward. Just imagine the next person from that community who find out that they have HIV and they remember what happened to Mary, they are not going. And then that is why you find people stay away from the well-needed health care, and then sometimes we stay on the sidelines and think they are just evil people who wants to go and spread HIV to everybody else. And we are not aware of these challenges that they face.
Breach of confidentiality is not just one other issue facing HIV and AIDS victims. It's a big one. And we play a part with our continued discrimination and lack of empathy. Let's treat everyone with the dignity we want for ourselves. Stop discrimination and be our brother's keeper.
It is one other bill worth considering: property insurance. We cannot stop disasters, but whenever they do occur, it is nice to know that we have plans in place to cushion the blow. In this week's Get the Facts, we revisit the conversation on this topic. Let's join in.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the show that gives you information on the topics that add value to your life. Now, this isn't something a lot of us think about when it comes to our budgets and day-to-day spending, but if you are now or you plan to become a homeowner or the owner of any property, it is something that you want to think about doing, if you haven't already. We're talking about property insurance and why you may find it useful. With us today to discuss this matter is Maureen Moss-Ferguson, Regional Sales Manager at Advantage General Insurance Company Limited. Mrs. Moss-Ferguson, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let's jump right into it. Let's start with definitions. What is property insurance?
So you know that insurance in itself, it's a risk transfer mechanism.
We're transferring the risk to who?
The company, of course.
All right,
so
okay.
you transferred it to me.
Great.
Right. So by doing so, you want to ensure that, one, it protects you against any eventualities, all the acts of God, and so it also gives you that peace of mind. You want to know that in the event of anything happening, and I would want to tell you that your property, for most persons, it's one of your biggest investment that you'll ever made in life.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
And nobody wants to know that you would have invested, sometimes maybe everything you would have earned would have invested in that property. So you want to ensure that in the event, and of course you would have seen what happens just over the past month leading up to now. You find the rains, flooding, land slippage, everything. So you want to know if, if your house, your property, whatever it is, if it's located in any of those areas that have been affected, then you can turn to us. And of course, we will compensate you for your losses and the damage that you would have sustained. So it is critical, very important for you to protect what you would have worked so hard.
Right. And you're not funding this out of your own pockets. So that you're literally transferring the cost of whatever recovery is needed to
definitely
an insurance company.
Right. You do that.
And you've mentioned home, but business owners own property too. So it's not just homeowners.
Not homeowners only. All the commercial buildings that you would have had, as you mentioned, the business owners, most of them have their own property.
Right.
So property insurance covers property. And property is very wide because, of course, it does not include is when you look at the motor insurance, but property is property. So any property that you would have owned comes under the property insurance.
Got it. It's fascinating you brought up motor insurance because in our conversation prior to this, you mentioned that motor insurance is mandatory.
It is.
But property insurance
it's not.
Isn't.
Right, it's not.
So it's sort of people do it if they're forced or if they want to.
Yes, or if they're forced to one, because usually many persons cannot afford to buy the property out of pocket. And so you go to the bank and get some money.
And the bank says,
right. So once the bank would have disbursed their loan, you have to. It's a must. It's mandatory that you get insurance.
So you're not being forced to get insurance, but you, as a property insurance advocate, if I may call it that more, what are the top 2 reasons you would say that, hey, this is important, even though it's not mandatory?
It's important because oftentimes, as I said, it's a risk transfer mechanism. So you transfer that risk to the insurance company. And this also provides you with peace of mind. Right. Peace of mind is very critical. Right. So in the event of you insuring your property, you can sleep well, walk well, you can do everything well, resting assured that whatever happens, my company will take care of that.
Got it. Are there any property types that can't be insured?
Yes, we sort of, because we look, there's some properties, of course, they're in certain areas, the areas that are flood prone. We tend to walk away from that. Near to the sea, because exactly the sea and inundated and all that. Of course, we want to look at the soil also, in case you have some properties that are located in sandy soil, slippage and all of that. So we normally want to know exactly, and that is why the location and the construction of your property is critical to us. We want to know that because some locations, of course, and whilst we're not trying to be stereotypical, but there are some areas also that is somewhat dangerous. And it's basically once you know that you would have insured the property in that area, it's likely that something going to happen. You're expecting.
Underscoring that word, likely.
Likely, yes. So we have, of course, we're very prudent in our check and balances because we know that, of course, once you insure, the likelihood of a claim, and that's why insurance is there. We want to ensure if you have a claim, we're there to protect you. But of course, we have to be very careful and prudent in how we select our risk also.
So when it comes to insuring your property, an assessment has to be made. Can you walk us through just at a high level how that assessment process goes?
So often if it's a risk that is depending on the magnitude, of course you have some very large, industrial operations that's above me and you. So we would want to send a professional, the expertise, to go and do their assessment, the evaluation of those. There's some small minor risk. Let's say you call me, Maureen, I need you to insure my house. I'll just find out where's this house you're in, wherever you're at, you're on Mullines Road, wherever it is. I just want to know the construction, the sum insured, if you have any losses. There's certain things that I would have asked.
The basic
but I don't
assessment.
necessarily I don't necessarily have to come and, once I have an idea, fair idea of where the area is.
Right.
But of course, as I had indicated before, the construction is very critical because that has to do with how we rate, how we charge you. Because of course, you're thinking, when you look at, let's say, a slab roof, right, as against a zinc roof, that's a vast difference.
True.
So I'm assuming in the event of a hurricane and you have a slab roof,
one at high risk.
Definitely, but a zinc roof, it's somewhat expected. My roof might be blown off. So I'm going to be looking, if I'm those tourists come to my attention for assessment, I'm going to be looking at them differently. So the rating will be different.
That affects the rating.
It does.
All right. Please stay with us. We're talking property insurance, why it is important, even though it's not mandatory, it's important. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Healing begins within. Take a moment for yourself. Healing is a journey. Start yours today.
Welcome back. We're discussing property insurance with Maureen Moss-Ferguson. Lady Maureen, let's get into some of the common mistakes. People make some mistakes when they're insuring, don't it?
Yes, they do.
The top one.
One of the biggest mistakes persons make is not spending the time to actually find the true value of your property. So you come for insurance, and you just, I think my house is $30 million.
That's a 10-year-old figure.
Right. And you don't take time out to know the actual value. And when you do that, it's gonna affect you if you have a claim.
In what way?
Once you underinsure your property, there's something that's very popular. You talk about the average clause.
Before we go forward, let's just pull out that word and properly define. Right. Underinsure means you're insured for a value that is below the current property value.
Your current property value.
Average
That's
claim.
what it is.
Yes.
So if you do that, then you're going to be affected by what we call the average clause. And how this works.
Yes.
What the average clause says, if your sum insured is less than the value at risk, then average applies. So basically what it is saying, if you insure less than what the actual value is, whatever proportion you underinsure it by, you have to...
You're going to have to find that.
Find that part, right. Yeah. So if you underinsure, you're going to share in the loss. That's what it's basically saying.
So let's do a case study.
Yes.
We've largely had active hurricane seasons for the last few years. Yes. Breeze blow, water come, foundation erode. A huge piece of tree falls on the house. You've insured the house for $10 million, but it's really at about $30 million.
Right.
Maybe you never know, or maybe you try to pay a lower premium, so you gave a smaller figure. And now I filed a claim. What happens here?
I like that. Persons want to pay sometimes a lower figure, so they insure for less. So if you said you insured for $10 million, you did say that?
Yes.
And the actual value at the time of the loss, because the loss adjuster will determine what is the actual value at the time of the loss. So as you had indicated, let's say the actual value is $30 million and you insure it for 10. So there's a formula that works for average clause. So it's a 10 million divided by the 30 times the loss.
Oh, wow.
So whatever the loss is when you work that formula, that's what you're going to be getting paid for. And then you see 10 over 30 is 1/3. So clearly you're going to get 1/3 of the loss, whatever that is.
Right.
So it does not. I will encourage persons ensure that you know the actual value of your property so you can accurately insure.
All right. So a common mistake is underinsurance.
Yes.
Is there any problem with over-insuring?
Not necessarily, because if you overinsured, what it does in the event of a loss, as I said, the loss adjuster again would have gone out to do his evaluation, and they will report back to us what the value is. So let's say you overinsure, and there's a loss, you will be paid the loss.
Right.
So the most we will do, based on how you overinsured, we can refund you the premium for the amount that is overinsured by.
Okay.
But you won't get payment if there's a loss for the overinsured part.
Got you.
No.
So knowing the value is very important.
Very important.
Very important. How can you give our property owners some tips? How can they keep up to date with the value of their properties so that they are properly insured?
Right. So whatever area you're in, I would encourage you to just, because of course there are times when persons discuss.
Right.
A house might be sold next door to you. Right. So you can basically ask a question, or I would suggest you get a valuator. Sometimes you don't have to ask them to prepare the formal report. But you can ask, this is my house. Give me an idea of what you think it is.
Got you.
Because it's very important. When it comes to insurance, you have the actual value. Yeah. If you don't, you will be impacted by average. And of course, that is the time when persons get real agitated. I didn't bargain for this.
Right.
So, it is important also that as underwriters, we explain to all customers the importance of this average clause. It's very critical. And that they understand what it means and sign to it, that they actually have read it and understand. And so in the event of a loss,
that formula comes
into play. It does.
I got it. Now, we mentioned earlier, yes, Jamaica, the Caribbean, has been going through over average active seasons.
Right.
Now, how does that impact property insurance premiums?
It does, because of course, and even like the past year, you may be aware that we do reinsure our business. Mm-hmm. And when there's an active season, the reinsurers, they're definitely going to increase their premium. Sometimes this is challenging for us to get capacity.
Capacity being?
The amount of insurance that we would want them to take.
Okay.
Because remember, when we take your policy, we insure a portion overseas to the insurers. So sometimes it's very challenging for them to give us the amount that we want. And so, yes, it impacts the rate also. So persons might wonder, but I didn't have a loss. I never make a claim. Why is my rate going up?
Okay.
But, when the reinsurers dictate to us mm-hmm. that this is the rate I want from you. And if we don't adhere, then definitely it's going to impact our business. So we will have to go according to the rates that they dictate.
Right.
So it will impact all our policyholders that have property.
Got you. Yeah. We're in the last few seconds of this interview, Lady Maureen, and I'd love you to speak directly to the audience at this moment. Whatever is on your heart regarding property insurance.
Right. Even though property insurance is not mandatory, I'm suggesting for your peace of mind and to ensure that you would have secured the property that you would have saved. Maybe it's your life investment to purchase. It's important that you have insurance. So always think about securing your property once you would have purchased anything.
All right. Mrs. Moss Ferguson, thank you for helping us get the facts today.
You're most welcome.
And thank you for joining us. This has been Get the Facts. We've been discussing property insurance and why it's important. Now, I do hope you have a productive week, and see you next time.
Calvin?
Yes, miss.
I need you to go to the Transport Authority for me today to renew all the motor vehicle road licenses. I can't afford for you to spend all day at the Transport Authority. I have a lot of errands for you to run for me today.
Miss, you don't hear them say you can renew online any day, anytime, easy.
No, but that sounds good. What do I need to do?
You can always log on to ta.org.jm.
Oh, that means we have a lot more time for you to run other errands.
Boy, miss.
me check it out. Ah, easy as 1, 2, 3.
In February, tourism stakeholders came together in Negril for the 3rd Global Tourism Resilience Conference and Expo. Here now are the highlights.
From February 17 to 19, tourism stakeholders from all over the world descended on the Princess Grand Jamaica Resort in Hanover for the 3rd staging of the Global Tourism Resilience Conference and Expo. This year's event was a digital affair, as the theme of the conference was Building Tourism Resilience Through Digital Transformation. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett officially opened the conference, sharing several new initiatives being rolled out by the Jamaica-based Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center, which he founded in 2018. These include artificial intelligence, AI tools, capacity building programs, as well as thought leadership and advocacy efforts.
By equipping tourism stakeholders with cutting-edge digital skills, we aim to reshape the industry, making it more agile, inclusive, and future-ready. These initiatives collectively stand to transform global tourism. They illustrate how resilient building efforts can range from environmental sustainability to public health, from heritage preservations to digital innovation, all converging to create a seamless and sustainable global tourism environment.
Discussions also explored how to use big data to guide decision-making and personalize experiences for visitors. Immediate past president of the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association, CHTA, Nicole Madden-Gregg, highlighted some of the data points destinations can use to improve their business.
We need to be able to move to the point where we have harmonization across data sets so we can better plan and utilize resources across the region. We'll use this to be able to predict future demand, be able to see what is happening across the region so that we can also move human resources throughout the region, because we are in fact a CARICOM region that does allow us to move resources. Additional data points that we need to focus on: booking and accommodation preference, spending behavior, visitor movement data, how they engage with digital platforms, satisfaction scores, and feedback.
Meanwhile, Country Director for the Caribbean at the World Bank, Lilia Buronchuk, highlighted the importance of a strong digital presence for destinations as travelers increasingly rely on online reviews and booking platforms to plan their trips.
Over 50% of present tourists are booking their hotels directly online. They're no longer using the platforms. And this means that the tourist sector needs to readjust. It means that small and medium enterprises, but also the big enterprises, they need to do their marketing differently. Tourism actually learn most and choose the locations based on social media increasingly. For example, social media was a top reason, actually second top reason for inspiring a trip to the Caribbean as a result of that World Bank consumer market research.
Continuing the discussion on how artificial intelligence applications can be leveraged to enhance tourism, local presenters highlighted efforts to automate the processing of travelers through the installation of 100 automated passport kiosks and 15 e-gates at the island's international airports in Kingston and Montego Bay. Director of Tourism Donovan White added that the Jamaica Tourist Board has introduced an AI-powered chatbot on its visitjamaica.com website to assist potential visitors with requests and recommendations.
Our AI-powered chatbot, which is our virtual travel specialist on visitjamaica.com, delivers a 24-hour customer assistance to potential visitors. Through the chatbot, users around the world are able to connect with a live agent, which sits in our office, who can assist them and even provide quotations on bookings.
He noted that the AI chatbot delivers 24-hour customer assistance and now converses in up to 10 languages. Before we go, we leave you with a success story from the work of the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center in Kenya. Since the launch of the Satellite Center in Africa, it has been having a positive impact on the African continent.
It seems like this center actually was established majorly for us because we took full advantage of the situation. And of course, with COVID coming immediately after we started the center in 2019, this center has been an icon that has helped us overcome crisis after crisis. And now we have policies, we have initiatives, we have programs that are transforming the Eastern Africa region.
Plans are now in place for next year's staging of the Global Tourism Resilience Conference with the goal of continuing to build capacity, collaborate, and share ideas. So mark your calendars for February 2026 as next year's conference promises to be bigger and better.
Social media is fun,
but it can also be unsafe.
To ensure our safety, we need to be smart. That's right. The first thing to know is that being on social media carries certain risks. So, being a smarty pants on these platforms will work in your favor.
Here are a few tips to keep in mind. Be careful about what you share. Know your audience by limiting who can see your posts. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Meeting people online can be exciting, but always stay cautious. Beware of catfishing.
To learn more about how to stay safe online, visit the Office of the Children's Advocate at www.welcome.oca.gov.jm.
Teachers, parents, and children alike,
stay smart, stay safe.
And with that, we have come to the end of today's show. To catch a repeat of this or any other, feel free to log on to our website at www.gis.gov.jm. Until next time, I'm Jabertha Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.